Rumors swirl around the Final Fantasy VII Remake, not unlike some sort of hooded figure that may or may not be incredibly controversial. I wanted to address a few and throw my hat into the ring for contending theories. I don't have a good mic, and I'm no expert at making videos, but I'm going to power through as though no one cares about those things, for your sake, because this is all important stuff. The inclusion of Zack's last stand in the ending of Remake suggested heavily that he survived his original fate. After engaging a giant swarm of soldiers, we're shown that Zack has lived through the onslaught as a stamp chip bag flies by. Freeze it! This right here, this bag is important later. It's important right now too, but also later. The bag has a different stamp than the one we see in the rest of the game, and this has led people to theorize there are two timelines, or more, and this timeline allowed Zack to live, possibly because of the party's intervention in killing the Harbinger. While only a theory at first, Intermission has given more credence to this theory by... I'm kidding, this is wrong. There's no timelines. Sorry.
No theories are intended to be hurt or insulted in this video. This is all speculation and good fun. Please don't be mad. I'm very sorry for being a big meanie head.
In the interest of fully explaining things, Intermission suggests that Zack is definitely living and enters the Sector 5 slums church to visit Aerith. She isn't there, and that leads to menacing music, sad-looking people, and some flowers that may or may not be crushed. There's been speculation that in this timeline, Aerith is dead. That this is after Platefall. And probably there's other ideas with the same timeline thing. Aerith being dead is possible, but really only potentially alluded to from people in the church being sad. Zack shyly saying her name possibly implies she is gone, but it can just as easily mean she's literally not in the church, and Zack is confused because he isn't the sharpest light bulb in the sack of light bulbs. Playfall has slightly more to it. There's been a discussion I've seen talking about the possibility of the Sector 7 plate being absent in Zack's church visit compared to when Cloud and Co. are at the church in Chapter 14. The discussion centers around a quick shot in Zack's scene where you can see some sky in the corner behind him, looking at an angle outward from the church. The plate seems to be missing. On closer examination, though, I don't buy it as more than either an inconsistency from game to CGI, or just a perspective problem. Look at the two side by side. The perspective we see of Zack shows a relatively tiny portion of skybox, and while it appears to be just clear sky, looking from a similar perspective with Cloud in Chapter 14 shows that the area would really only show this brace or support piece on the connecting plate. So, yeah, I'm going with. This brings us to our next theory. Zack is visiting the church in the past. How far in the past differs from theory to theory. The church looks newer. A few less cracks and missing flooring. The notable cross on the back wall behind the podium area is still intact. And generally speaking, this just looks like a version of the church in less disrepair than when we see it as Cloud. I'm not sure where this would lead to outside of a Zack is Cloud's dad sort of ending, or maybe some crazy spin of the Zack backstory, or maybe even just a flat-out retelling of his story. So, you know. Thirdly, our theory train leads us to... This is a recent theory, or at least to me. Ray Kaufman suggested it during a SEAL Team 7 video and has since made a video about it himself. This one goes back a bit. Basically, he theorized that Zack fights the soldiers, then we kill the Harbinger, then Zack is not dead no more. I know I made that sound really bland and just a retelling of the events of the game, but the important part is in the middle, like an Oreo. When the party destroys the Harbinger, they change the timeline as it is, and things warp outside of the singularity without their knowledge. They exit, and things are just different. Zack survived, and everything affected by the defeat of the Whispers just altered the reality they knew. No timelines, no weird criss-crossy whatevers, just everyone smashed together. This actually doesn't have an enormous amount of problems to suss out as opposed to most of the other popular theories. Basically, it'd just be, hey, Zack is here now. I think that technically isn't an enormous narrative hurdle to vault, but it's still needlessly complicated. That all said, and even though I'm about to stamp this bad boy, I actually sincerely like this idea, and I secretly hope this is what happens. The last big theory is that Zack is dead. Some people have noted that during the last stand scene, Zack's pauldrons get scratched and tarnished and beat up. There are obvious gashes in them, not to mention his face is bloodied and cut. During the church scene, his pauldrons are immaculate. He has no cuts or scrapes and seems to be totally fine. The only reasonable time frame for him to be doing this, barring some shenanigans, would be after bringing Cloud back. The time frame between that moment and the plate fall is somewhere around 2 months according to various official timelines. It just seems like a strange idea that he was hurt, his armor ruined, and he just happened to spend 2 months fixing all of that before going and seeing this girl he loves. It seems much more likely that this is just a version of Zack at his quote-unquote best. His almost pristine condition really hits the money on the nail head for me. It felt a little out of place at first, because everyone and their mom was so convinced that there are multiple timelines afoot, as was I. Then, remember that stamp bag I mentioned in the beginning being really important? Of course you do. Everyone knows about it. It's super obvious. They linger on it, and it's on screen while I draw red circles around it. This bag is integral, and I think it's one of the best things they've done in regards to the mystery of this remake. Now, focus on this part. Composite photography suggests that this is the wording obscured by the terrier's paw. Stamps, champs. I honestly hadn't noticed this at all outside of a little before making this video. I was playing through hard mode again to get device, and just getting lost in theories and ideas when I paused on the bag. Maybe I'm late to the party here, but I haven't heard a whisper.
See what I did there?
On this in a year. A year of binging all the streamers' reactions, Sleepy's massive essays, Steel Team 7 videos, or discussions on Reddit or anyone else. Not once. I know people have seen it because I've seen hidden discussions on a few lesser-known message boards and some comparison images of a bag, I'm guessing, was in Tifa's bar, but it feels absent from the larger discussion. Whatever, I'm gonna move on like I'm a genius and not just oblivious. Stamps Champs suggests that the terrier is some sort of companion to Stamp, right? An examination of Terrier versus Beagle shows the Terrier appears to have a lower rank than the Beagle. The angle's a little ambiguous, and it's possible a fifth star is hidden behind the perspective, but it seems to be that the Terrier is a subordinate to Stamp, the Beagle. The helmets are different as well, suggestive of some elevation in rank between the two. So, and here's the big wham bam how's your ma'am. My theory is that Zack's story is exactly the same as it was in the compilation. They're pulling one over on us. They linger on the bag with enough time to recognize the mascot is different. Zack surviving the fight with the Shinra soldiers. I can't show it, but I'm doing air quotes on surviving. Zack carrying Cloud to Midgar's edge and fading off into the sunrise. Zack showing up in Midgar at the church to see Aerith? It's all a misdirect. They want to tell the story of Zack and have it be a mystery to the fans, to the newcomers, and everyone in between. Our boy dies right after walking along with Cloud in the cutscene from Remake's ending, and shows up at the church to a bunch of sad people, and it's because he's in the live stream with a bunch of other dead souls. He's going to be waiting for Aerith to leave out of the church doors the way he came in, a la everyone's favorite movie, Advent Children. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I came up with all of this on my own. I've seen countless people make a connection between the church doorway and the intermission Zack scene with the door in Advent Children, lit up by a blinding white light. The people in the church seem filled with despair, possibly eroding away from geostigma or its beginnings. Red herrings have been brought up all over, but it's never really felt anything was definitely the, oh yeah, that's the red herring. I'm no visionary, and I'm sure people have thought this themselves, but I wanted to try and see if I could throw some fire on the... or fire. As I'm concluding this, I felt a wrinkle pop up. One of those wrinkles that kind of makes you go, why the hell didn't I think about that already? And it's about the whisper explosion seen and felt by Zack. It seems like that'd be indicative of them affecting something with his story, right? And my best explanation for that is flimsy. I think this is a narrative way of showing the connection to every part of Midgar that is told in Remake Part 1. The explosion ties Zack to the events we've seen, and simultaneously serves as another misdirect. Yeah, like I said, kind of flimsy. At the end of the day, I am all in on whatever Square is doing with this story. If everything I've said is pish-posh and they make Zack Cloud's grandpappy, I will love it all the same. This story is special to a lot of people, myself deeply, terribly so, and I just wanted to force myself into the conversation.